Hello, everybody. This episode is called This Is How We Are Caring. And it's important because it's a series right now of 4 episodes. The first one was The Existing Universe, and then the next one, Existing Caring Us, and then this one, This Is How We Are Caring, and the next one, Mutually Caring Relationships. 4 in a row, they really get to the heart of what I'm talking about as a mental health clinician, what makes us the healthiest. So in that first episode in this series, it's about the existing universe, that 9 fields of energy are existing, they're happenings, they're verbs, happening, and they're always interacting, merging, and then what is emerging from that are atoms, molecules, and eventually cellular living organisms like you and I. So it's important to know that background. Watch that episode if you haven't already. But eventually, again, it gets to the actively existing us in the universe. Again, any living being is actively existing, that atoms and molecules are passively existing, but any living being is actively existing, meaning it's doing something on purpose. It's got a purpose. It's staying alive or continuing existing. So that is the nature, or that's the second episode in this series, the Existing Caring Us. Now, again, like I said in the previous episodes, this all began for me in 1983 in realizing life has to be cared for or it dies. So caring must be the organizing principle. It must be the basis of everything that we do. And so it only took me almost 40 years to get to this point. But anyway, here we are. But that's about actively existing. That life has to be cared for or it dies is meaning that we are constantly caring to continue going, living. So here on this planet anyway, we can look and we can describe, if there are others living beings in the universe, well, whatever if there are beings like us that can describe them, they'll be described differently, I assume. But anyway, all living beings are the same. They're actively existing and caring. So in our planet anyway, that's true for microbes, single cell living beings, and plants of any type, animals of any type, as we call them, and us. Well, obviously, we are an animal, we're not a plant, so we're part of the animal part. But every one of those living beings is actively existing, whether it's a single cell living being or like us with gadoodles, invent that word, numbers of cells, all comprising to make a human being continue existing. So again, like I said, I think in the last episode, it doesn't matter what living being we're talking about. They're all the same in terms of their value, our value. No living being is less important or more important than the other. We're all the same happening. It's just different structure, different levels of complexity, period. So this episode this is how we are caring, human beings are caring. So caring, again, is actively existing. It's staying alive. It's living. It's staying alive. So if you move to that idea, like, what about us is helping us stay alive? Well, the answer is everything. Everything about us, everything is about continued existing or staying living, staying alive. Everything. So we have toes because they help us balance, which help us walk and run and live and continue existing. We have kneecaps because evolution shaped it that way so that those legs we have can bend and can get food and walk and run and everything for continued existing. We have skin because there needs to be an outer shell to this entire complexity of being, and it is protective. And by the way, what is it like? No, wait a minute, I think like every 7 years, every living cell in our body has been replaced. So if you want to think of like impermanence, if you think that, all of the cells that comprise us now are us, and they're permanent, well, no, they're not. They get replaced. So that's a process all by itself, which is a verb. That's a happening. The cells in our bodies are not only doing their things for all of that, all of us to continue existing, but they actually get replaced. Oh, they're new. Anyway, all right, so what else? Bones. Okay, so we have bones, and they're part of continued existing because they give the backbone, the structure to our body for the muscles and the tendons and the veins to hang off of and connect to and all make it work. They are caring. Hair. I love hair. Why do we have hair? Well, evolution shaped it that way, like everything for continued existing, but we have hair all over our bodies except for the palms of our hands and stuff, our tongues maybe, I don't know, but again, it exists for a reason. It's caring, it's for our continued existing. Even eyebrows. Eyebrows are patches of hair that stop things from falling in our eyes or something, or whatever the biologists tell us why we have hair in certain parts of our body. So then moving on to the rest of us in terms of like processes that are always happening, like breathing. It's not like, again, you take a breath once in your life and you're done. No, we are always breathing. That's caring. Heart beating, it's always beating. That's caring. We're always digesting food. These things we never think about, but it's always happening. The digesting is always happening. And then if there's not enough food in our system and our cells start to scream hungry, then in our brain eventually, got to eat something. Always caring. All this stuff, always caring. Then you get to our sensing. So sight, sound, taste, touch, all that kind of stuff. So we're always hearing, right? We're always hearing, and we're always hearing because we want to know what's in our environment, what's good for us, what's bad for us. Sensing our environment. We're always seeing, knowing what's in our environment, seeing what's in our environment, knowing what's good for us, what's bad for us, helping us navigate to do our lives. We're always, I said hearing, smelling, always smelling. And again, smelling is important, obviously, because if we are smelling a good food that we love and we're empty, then altogether it's like, eat that. And if we eat that, we continue existing, right? Actively existing, we continue existing. If we're smelling trash and we say, ooh, got to get away from that trash. Well, the reason is evolution shaped it that way because trash, the smelling of us for trash is don't eat it, because if you do, you will die. So evolution shaped, all of us, knowing, just instinctively caring that you don't eat, meat that's rotting because it's bad for you. So all these things and evolution and adapting is caring, everything about every living being and about every part of us is caring. This is plain caring. Then we get to emotions, which I've had all these episodes, if you've seen those or want to look at those, about primary emotions. Primary emotions are joy, anger, fear, and sadness. They're a way for us to categorize all the different emotions that we have names for, because we have reflective awareness, we name things. And so primary emotions, those categories of our emotions, exist for a reason, which is caring. So joy, the experience of joy is like, ooh, I like that. That makes me happy. So I'm attracted to that. I want to keep that. Anger is fighting back an attack. And obviously, fighting back an attack is caring, because if you don't fight back an attack, you don't continue existing, like bear in the woods or lion on the savannah, whatever. Even someone yelling at you is an attack of some kind. And you might freeze, that's a caring response. You might run, that's a caring response. And you might fight back, that's a caring response. Everything is caring. So fear is caring, because if we don't know what's bad for us, if we're not alerted to that, we're not going to continue existing. So we see a bear in the woods, like if we're like, whatever, and it takes us out, well, we're not continuing to exist, are we? So we have to have a fear response. If someone is harming us, or we think they're going to harm us, we have to have a fear response. And now, like I said before, we either get out, most of the time we leave, but sometimes we fight back. Sadness is an important caring response, because we have to know that something important, we're losing it, we've lost it, or we lack it. And that's usually people. Usually we have the greatest sadness around people. Like if someone we love so much, we care about so much, we have a caring relationship, and they die, we have intense sadness because we're supposed to. It tells us. All emotions are there to tell us something, just like sensations tell us something about life, living, and our environment, and continued existing, actively existing, or caring. So every one of our primary emotions, completely caring: joy, anger, fear, and sadness. They exist to tell us something, to make us do things, to approach something, to like it or avoid it because it's not good for us. Caring. They're all about caring. Next is mutually caring relationships, which is the next episode. So mutually caring relationships literally involve the word caring. And by the way, caring a lot of our lives is not caring of other living beings. I mean, every time I eat something, I've killed something to eat it. Plant or animal. Killed it. Unless there are things like lettuce, I suppose, where I could snip it off and then eat it and then it grows up on it. But anyway, we're consuming energy. It does not sound like it's caring because we're killing things to eat them, but it is caring. It's completely caring because it's our living being consuming energy, food, to continue existing. So mutually caring relationships are like the pinnacle of our experience because we're sharing love with other people. And we were evolved to have that as a very important part of our lives because we were relatively weak on the savannah back when we started in Africa on the savannah, and we needed bonds. We needed to cooperate to continue existing, and we had emotional bonds called, we call it love or like, but it's mutually caring relationships, which are defined next. They are defined as we care about each other, we believe in each other, and we support each other. I encourage you to watch that episode to get more of a definition. But mutually caring relationships are the pinnacle of our caring experience, and just as caring as killing an animal to eat it. You gotta know that. Caring is actively existing, and mutually caring relationships, or for us anyway, are a big part of that. Finally, we have reflective awareness. So every living being is aware of has an awareness of an environment, because even a microbe has to know, well, that's food, that isn't. So it has an awareness. All plants, all animals, everybody, everything, every living being has awareness. So we also have reflective awareness. Now, reflective awareness is, I not only know about this birdhouse, but I call it a bird. I'm aware of it's there, being there, and maybe my cat might have an awareness of that, but it does not call it a birdhouse. That's reflective awareness, when we can reflect and say, this is what is. And I am what I am. I am a human or human being. That's a really important thing for us humans. Reflective awareness, we evolved to have that. And it's a great gift, and it's a great challenge. And I'll tell you why a challenge later on. But it's also why we have to have like episodes on a YouTube channel like this, that actively existing or caring is what we are and what we're doing. We have to have that because we can know what we are. We have reflective awareness to name things and name ourselves. So, but that's caring. Again, awareness, the way the mind works and with everything else, it's constantly caring, and being aware is constantly caring, and reflective awareness is constantly caring. Consciousness is a word used for that, and there are bazillions of books and articles and scientific journals and everything about it. And you know what, I just think it's reflective awareness. I don't think it's anything magical. I don't think anything about any living being is more or less magical than any other living being or any other caring function. So, all right, that's the end of this episode, rather long, but I wanted to explain briefly all these things together, all these processes, these actively existing processes define us, the human being, or caring. And that's what we are, that's what we're doing. So hopefully this has been helpful as you try to understand what the heck I mean about the existing caring us and how we are that way.